Hi, this is Colby from the Colby Cast, and you're listening to Star Wars Reactions. Elegant discussion for a more civilized age.
There's been an awakening. Have you felt it?
In 1977, George Lucas formed a legacy.
Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
Inspired by mythology, his saga has become a passion for many.
Feel the Force around you.
His legend has become our story.
It's true. All of it.
One of resistance,
We are the spark that'll light the fire that'll burn the First Order down.
rebellion,
Rebellion is built on hope.
and redemption.
I am a Jedi, like my father before.
This is Star Wars Reactions.
Remember, the Force will be with you. Always.
Welcome back. I am not your host, Aaron Harris. However, for this episode of Storm Reactions, I did happen to find one David Motters. I don't know if we have one of those. He's your to mine, I'm to yours. That's Aaron and David's thing. But I do have David Motters, and I want to say, David, welcome back to your own show. But how you been doing?
Good, buddy. I'm ready to react, and all credit to you for, not only covering us, you and Colby. Just, oh my gosh, you guys knocked it out of the park with Storm Reactions, and then also you being, persistent on getting this one going as well. So just appreciate you so much doing that, and doing pretty good. Just getting everything after last week was a real kind of week to get caught up at work and around the house and in the yard after Milton came through. So just glad to be in one piece, and the house is here, and much rather be talking to you than dealing with all that stuff. So
No, I hear you. And, it's interesting because, I hate to bring work into this, but I think, for your line of work, your audience does know this, that, when you see something like this coming, right, there are natural disasters, or there's events that are, as Colby and I kind of talk, like with an earthquake, right? Those are unplanned. Those, you can't see them coming. But with a storm like this, you can see it coming, and I'm sure that has to raise everybody's level of stress, but I'm sure yours as well, because on the one hand, you are also trying to see clients, but on the other hand, you're trying to get yourselves ready.
absolutely. I was thinking about that, and you and I've been texting, quite a bit as well. The whole time that, 2 weeks ago is a Monday, Tuesday, we had Wednesday, Thursday off. Friday, we were back at work October 11th.
Wow.
As soon as that storm went through. But seeing clients Monday and Tuesday, and then just doing the prep. I was doing prep at night. When you're working, my wife is working as a social worker. She actually worked Wednesday, the day the storm came in, and she was back at work on Thursday, as it cleared through the night. So, there was millions of people out on I-75 going from the Tampa St. Pete area past our home all the way up north. We were not on the roads. We were at work. And so it's a different kind of prep, buddy. It's doing it in the evenings and on the weekends. You just got to do it when you can. But a lot of people have to do that. So,
Right.
Yeah.
So what kind of things, I think, would you even have done for yourselves? I mean, now as things, there was obviously the cleanup, and, Aaron's place got hit a lot harder than yours. But
Yeah.
what are some of the things that you do to kind of calm down, or just kind of like, recenter? I think I'm even thinking this weekend as we're finishing up, the volleyball regular season, and it's always has been, it's been, you get back into school and all this, you after an event like this, what are some of the things that you do to kind of just sort of, do that kind of reset with yourself, and to kind of, all right, we can take a minute, right?
Well, one of the things we did it last night, my sister, we moved her down here in January from Michigan, up in your neck of the woods. That we're up there in the Midwest. And so moved her down, and we went out to dinner with her last night, my wife and I, my daughter. we went out and just had dinner. We really hadn't seen her for a bit. She's living in here in Ocala. She didn't lose power at all. We lost it for, good 12 hours, 13 hours, nothing like Aaron an entire week. Done that before, unfortunately, but just breaking bread with family members. And then, something that I've been doing, and I know that your co-host on, Breakfast Pack, Dr. Greg Cass, he's super into the High Republic, and I've been going through all that, all the comics. I'm looking at him over here to my left. All the books. I'm doing the books on Audible, so I'm in Tears of the Nameless. So that'll wrap that up, and then we only got a few left. One adult novel, one middle grade, one young adult novel. So it's coming to a close next spring, summer. So just getting lost in Star Wars. It's a healthy way to do it, and so I sit here where I'm recording with you right now and listen to some Star Wars audiobooks. So those kind of things help. So time with friends, time with family. We're gonna go spend time with friends tonight that we haven't seen really for several weeks because of the storm. They have to prep, we have to prep, and then they're all working, and we're working as well. We all have kids, like you do, and Dr. Cass does, and so there's a real busyness to it. But we're kind of starting to, as a week passes, kind of get into some more normalcy, and I think Aaron is too. He's trying to get there anyways. So
I loved seeing the picture, and I was like, I'm all right. When you went down, you were able to bring him down some relief supplies, which was really great. Got a generator going because they were without power until I think Thursday or something like that, just a couple of days ago. And then I think today, as we record this, I think they were having Comcast or whoever the cable service is, the internet service, to come out. But one of the things I saw, I mean, I know his wife posted some video on Facebook, but it was nice to see everybody kind of come together, and because I think if you wake up to that, I think it can be very daunting. But one of the things that's really great about the community he has within his church, obviously, and just the folks that we're around, is I think it's really great when you have a community. I don't care what kind of community it is, but I think you need that, and you start to feel for folks that maybe a little more isolated, and especially in an event like this. And COVID was another good example of that, where a lot of people were kind of cut off from regular support groups and things. But I think that's something that really is nice to make a very daunting task seem less so, and you can kind of take things in perspective. And I think, to me, I always think that's some of the best of what social networks can do. When we're not getting pegged by the algorithms and made to watch this or that, when you do see, it's great to be able to see, pictures and video and go, okay, people are all right. Life goes on, things can be replaced. It'll take a while, but it is nice to see that. And I go, okay, I think that's when social networks are on their best behavior.
Oh, totally agree. I'm looking at a new book that just came out called The Anxious Generation, and really what we've seen is a real decline, I'd like to see a decline in anxiety, a real decline in the mental health of our adolescents since 2012, when social media really came to the forefront, and all the anxiety and difficulties it's brought, the things that it can bring into your home, like you said, with algorithms and other things. But I absolutely agree with you. This is one of the best parts of social media, is being able to be in communication, plan things out, help each other, and go from there. And something that I was thinking about and wanted to mention this is that it was a week ago right now, at our church here in Ocala. My wife was there from 10 until like 4:30 or so, just helping organize all of these relief supplies that were then distributed on Sunday. When we were having our 3 services, people were driving through, people from our church are out there, and my wife was out there, my daughter, handing out toiletries, toilet paper, waters, food. It's unbelievable. Now, national media is not there.
Mm-hmm.
They're not there. They're not covering that. I wanted to share this, that one of the things my wife said is, hey, Pastor Charles has another generator. And so I immediately texted him. I said, "Hey, Pastor Charles, I've got a real good friend of mine down in Lakeland. He was right through the path of the storm. He grew up a missionary kid. Him and his wife, have two daughters. They're without power, and it's probably going to be a while." And it ended up it was. And he says, "David, take it.
That's awesome.
Take it." And so I got that, and that along with some other supplies, took those down to Aaron. Now, again, national media didn't follow me going down to Lakeland and giving all that stuff to Aaron, but that happened because of a church community. And like I said, if a pastor, priest, or reverend sexually abuse a kid, that's on national news. It's above the fold, right? We call it above the fold. Kids are, what's above the fold, Greg and Dave? What's above the fold? In a newspaper bin, it's above the fold. It's the main story. None of this is the main story, but this is community, like you said, Greg, helping each other out. And, it was sad to me because I was talking to a client of mine, and she said, David, and she's not wrong. She goes, "My experience, Dave, is I see a lot of people of faith, Jewish, Christian, Muslim, not living out their faith." And I said, I know. I understand. There's a lot of people who call themselves people of faith. I'm not really sure they are. It's not playing out, And so in this case, you see it happening. And I felt really good about what our church did. And in fact, within a half hour of me getting there last Sunday with the generator and other supplies, like you said, Greg, people from Aaron's church, I'd say 4, 5, 6 guys, along with their sons, came in and they started removing all the drywall about a foot up, removing all the floor. Now that's on their time. They came in, they brought another generator to power fans to dry the floors. Again, local and national media are not covering that. Good Christians doing good things, buddy. So I just want to make sure I got that out there. I have to admit, I get tired of seeing all the negative stories. I know negativity sells, but here's some good stuff, right? This is what you and I were texting over about the last 2 to 3 weeks. You've been texting with me and Aaron, about community, about friendships, and it's made all the difference in the world. In fact, you and I are kind of, hoping Daz will jump on from Wales. Daz jumped on of his own volition, not through you, not through Aaron, and he just contacted me and just saying, "Hey, how are you doing? What's going on?" And again, social media, right? Connectedness. Never would have had a friendship like that 20, 30 years ago without social media. So anyways, I know I'm a little long-winded. I'll shut up, but I just, I wanted to share all that. And
I
really
don't,
yeah.
I don't think you're doing anything different than what your clients ask of you. And I think that's a lot of times when, it's different when someone is in person or you get a chance to talk. I mean, the difference a lot of times, even within the company I work for, right? It's a remote company mostly, but there's always that incentive to turn your cameras on because there is a call when you're just looking at an avatar versus a call when you're looking at it. And it's even different when it's in person. But that's also the thing I think that, as we have gone to, as celebrations, right, as the Star Wars community has, or the community we're in, right, we've met each other more. We've gone out of our way to see folks. And, there's that joy there. I think that you become more connected. And so, during the storm, like even before, I was texting with you and then, Charles and Pat from Conversations, they were down, Punta Gorda and around there. And I know, both of them had to evacuate, but, just kind of checking in. And I think, it's nothing. I'm like, I can't do anything for you. I can't go down there and do sandbags for you, but I can just say, and then, relay that to, some other folks going, "Hey, just, in case you were curious, I checked in with them. They're fine." And I think some of this is not necessarily, you're not doing it to curry favor, or I never think of any good it's not transactional. It's just,
Right.
what, and it's no different sometimes even than when you're on, let's say, Star Wars Twitter or actually Blue Sky or Instagram, where you're scrolling through your feed just like we all do, right? It's there,
Right.
but a like or a comment, especially on artists' ones, I always like to, I'll reshare them in the story, or I'll put down. Because sometimes people will put things in there and you kind of pick up those and, we've all made, posts that nobody said anything, nobody done anything, but it takes a lot of effort to,
Right.
and this is what whole reason Aaron does say, be nice, be kind. And I kind of go on that going, comment, spend, instead of maybe coming up with a post, when you go through Instagram, if you find something you like, make a comment, because I think that a lot of times, even when I see it myself, it's like, oh, someone was paying attention, you just didn't scroll through. But even then, even on sometimes where an artist was talking about, I did something a little different. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And it's kind of like, I like the fact that you're trying something else, or, oh, wow, I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing with that. And it really, I think it, does it add to the noise? Probably. But I mean, I think it helps reach out and go, you know what, this is what we should be doing, or at least, it's hard for me to kind of control what I'm looking at. And a lot of times I'll go into Instagram, I have like favorites, so I make sure I catch these posts, right? Or you try to like, segment out maybe some of the noise. I'm like, you know what, but I just, some of the negativity that you see, and we talk about this a lot, it's so much easier. It's like, if you go into the store, would you rather buy a box of cereal or a bag of Doritos? And you're going, well, the bag of Doritos is definitely going to taste better, but the cereal, arguably, is probably a little better for me. And we'll talk about cereals. The cereal definitely doesn't come with toys anymore. That's the one thing. If I want to get on my grumpy soapbox, I'm like, where are the toys, man? Where are the movie tie-ins? It's either a bowl or a book, and I'm like, all right, book's good. But I still would be like, where's the little plastic thing that I'm going to take home and break 2 days later?
Oh yeah.
But
My parents, that drove them nuts. We'd get the cereal home, my sister and I'd open it up. We're like, put the toys in there, and you cut the top off, and you got to pour the cereal out into a bowl and get it. And then, of course, my parents are trying to get all the cereal back in the box because, you got to get the toy out, So it drove my mom and dad nuts every time with that stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm going to transition
Yes.
a bit to, it's interesting because we have Skeleton Crew coming up.
Yeah.
And, I hadn't really given, like, I watched the trailer when it first came out, and I kind of went back on because I had a little downtime today between, this and then, going to the dentist and whatnot. I'm like, you know what, let me fire that up because I wouldn't mind, at some point probably Greg and I are going to be getting ready to talk about it, and so are you and Aaron. And I kind of gave it another shot, and I was like, it was kind of interesting because, the Amblin, the Goonies, the Gremlins, those 80s/90s types of, kid movies, I kind of dismissed them because I was a teenager at the time. You were very close in age, and you're like, I want a little more serious content, and so it's fine. But when I kind of look back on this, I think there is something to maybe a little bit of the wonder where, like the one character, and, we're all going to get used to the names here pretty soon. But the one characters go, it's like, don't you wish that you could have a real adventure? A kid who never probably had to clean up after a storm. But be that as it may, but it's like, don't you really wish you had a real adventure? And, it looks like they get it. And I started kind of going, oh, this is kind of something kind of interesting because we are, even though it looks like Star Wars suburbia, what kid our age or theirs wasn't looking for something more than the humdrum of daily life? Have you had a chance to watch the Skeleton Crew trailers?
I did. And I saw that. I don't know, where did I see it? Did I see it today where there's some new pictures posted by, I think, Entertainment Tonight, ET, right? It's not a magazine anymore, but their site, and I saw some of the pictures they were showing, and it looks like just good, wholesome fun. And the adventure. The thing I think about is I heard you talking about this a little bit. I don't know if it was with Greg Cass or with Colby, but you were talking about the Amblin stuff, and you and I are very similar in age. And I think the one that I ended up maybe liking the most, because I'm same as you. I don't know. People might ban me for life. I'm not a big Goonies guy.
I'm the
I'm
same.
like you.
I'm the same.
I'm not a Goonies guy, but E.T. though, with and where they filmed it, I get this thing in my Instagram feed, and it shows pictures from like movie scenes and then what it looks like now. they show the picture, like they show the
Right.
poltergeist house then, poltergeist house now. And I saw a picture of ET where they're walking. They've got ET in his little ghost costume, and they show the picture now, that neighborhood, and of course in the picture you see a little kid dressed as Yoda, because that would have come out in 1980.
That's
So
right.
this is 82, and that picture of suburbia, that's what I think about when I think about Amblin Entertainment and some of those movies. And that was growing up in little tiny Elma, Michigan, walking around with our costumes on, and just so exciting, so fun, and like you said, always looking for an adventure. Nothing like going through hyperspace, but just something fun, something cool. And so some of those movies I really liked. E.T. being one of them. That just really struck me as pretty cool. I was trying to think of what would be some of the other ones. What, besides Goonies, besides E.T. and that kind of stuff. But
Yeah,
I like that one. What's the other ones? Can you think
well,
of?
I would say another one would be Stand By Me. Would be, I don't know so
Oh,
much if it's
yes,
Amblin, but I know it's
yes.
sort of in that vein, or these, coming of age films where you have, a darker one would probably be The Lost Boys.
Yes,
A very
yes,
young Kiefer Sutherland, and a great soundtrack. But,
yes.
but yeah, it's interesting because, you know, I think now you're starting to kind of look like when a new series or a new project is announced, you're kind of now looking over your shoulder for what's everybody going to say about this. And uh,
Yeah,
as a
yeah.
matter of fact, speaking of which, I couldn't have asked for a better segue, because we have one right here with Daz Davies, as he is. I like to see this as sort of like space program level concentration as he's getting the zoom, he's getting his settings in, and it's kind of watching. He's got the Star Wars thing going on in the background, but you're always kind of looking over your shoulder to see what someone. You're almost like maybe waiting for someone to tell you,
Mm,
what you should be thinking, maybe.
right, right.
And at some point, you're like, one, I should just take it for what it is. And
Yeah,
two, it's like, I think given the time of year, you know what? I Let's just chill out a bit. I
yeah.
think that's also something that I think Rebuilding the Galaxy did. Daz, are you able to hear us okay?
I can hear you guys loud and clear.
Listen to that
There he is.
dulcet that tone. I love it. Um, perfect entry point, because Daz, being a little younger, kind of comes in, and we were talking kind of about Skeleton Crew kind of coming in, and these coming of age films, and how after we're always kind of looking over our shoulders to see now like what people might want to say about something. Oh, I wonder what they're going to think about this. And I'm like, you know what? At this point, I think we have kind of like just said, I just want to enjoy the Star Wars that's in front of me. But give me some thoughts. What's kind of going through your head when you see, Des, when you see Skeleton Crew, the trailers and some of the extra things? What images or what thoughts are they invoking with you?
Well, this Skeleton Crew, I think, is going to hit my sweet spot. It's absolutely perfect for me. Growing up watching the Goonies and
Mm.
all those E.T. Amblin movies, absolutely fantastic. So for me, it's taking me back to the 80s. I didn't see any of these, like those sort of movies in the cinema or anything, but we used to we used to rent VHS with these, and we'd be watching the movies over the weekend, and then all week with our friends we'd be playing make believe, whether we were the Goonies on adventures, building gadgets, things like that. So when I hear about Skeleton Crew and what little we've seen so far, it's taking me back to those days. It's taking me back to the days of BMX rides and dens and exploring, and maybe wading through streams, and all kind of matter of the sort of kind of things you do when you're a kid, and all that sort of good wholesome fun. So that's kind of where my headspace goes. So I couldn't be more excited for the sort of the feel that potentially we're going to get with it.
And maybe, David, this is something that we all could use. I hate to use the word, I think the overused word, palate cleanser, but I do think that given that time of the year, right? And I can imagine, like, for example, those who just went through a storm, both Helene and Milton, and you're going to spend the next couple of months, if not, years afterwards, cleaning up. This just might be what the doctor ordered as far as going, you know what? I don't see any galactic ramifications in this, but I do see a nice adventure around the holidays, kind of in between, Thanksgiving and Christmas or whatever. And hey, we just got our internet back. We're able to watch this again. We cleaned up around the TV. You know what? Just give me something, and if I see some familiar faces, great. If not, maybe a little wonder and amazement is exactly what we need, David.
Well, I love those words, wonder and amazement, and nostalgia. These feelings are wonderful. And as I was driving down, I was listening to you and Dr. Cass cover the first two episodes of Rebuilding the Galaxy, and then on the way back, I finished you guys up, and then I listened to Dan Z's interview with Stephen Barnes. I don't know if you or Daz heard that. This guy, I tell you, I've played sports my entire life, and I've had some great coaches, but this guy, in talking to Dan, I'd run through a wall for this guy. And the reason why I bring this guy up, because there's one point in his interview where he's talking to Dan about the very things that you and Daz are talking about, that walking through streams, that adventure, that wonder, that excitement. And he said, listen, I don't know how old Stephen Barnes is, but I was looking at his picture. I don't know if he's around our age, like Daz is a young fella, but Stephen Barnes, this author of the new Mace Windu book, he was saying, keep that childlike presence in you. Enjoy each day. I mean, like he was just, more. I thought a motivational speaker more than anything else, but he's talking about this very thing, right? Is enjoying these things, and he's saying it to us adult men and women. The three of us on this, we're adult men, and he's still saying, hey, have that childlike wonder. I'd encourage anybody to listen to that. I've got to listen to it a second time. In fact, I want to grab my son and sit down and listen to that interview again that Dan has with Stephen Barnes. It's consistent again with what both you and Daz are saying. Let's keep that childlike wonder. Let's enjoy it. Let's have some fun. Can we just watch this show and enjoy it, not have it be, panned because it's not what someone thinks it should be. Let's just, just enjoy it.
Yeah, and I think that just enjoying the Star Wars. Just as we want Star Wars to always give us that sense of wonder, amazement, and it's not, and I don't mind people and myself even asking me for a little more. Give me stories of across all genres. Give me The Acolyte. Give me, Book of Boba Fett. Give me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. I would like to see these characters because I think we're invested in them. But also it's like, maybe for us, it's like, maybe it tasks us again to go, just relax, man. It's Star Wars. It's not rocket science. It's not, one of my favorite, I used to work at a TV station, and there used to be a cartoon that someone tacked up. And it was like from a newspaper strip. And it was like this, these two surgeons. And, one is sweating profusely. And the other guy's going, man, relax, man. It's not television. And I always thought that was kind of funny because that's the opposite. But I'm like, relax. It's just Star Wars, man. Can we just enjoy it, Especially when we know what's awesome is the fact that, we can see it. And then Daz, in a whole other country, gets to watch the same thing, experience the same thing as we do. That's what's so awesome.
Yeah, global. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I think that's something that's going to help with this as well. Like, I couldn't be happier with the timing that it's going to drop. Star Wars at Christmas, and especially this kind of movie. If we're skewing slightly younger, then what better time could we have to be watching this than as we, going through the holiday period and Christmas is coming. I think that's the perfect mix. I'm so happy with the timing. Not to say that it wouldn't be bad in the summer, but if you really want to crank it up for me, put this thing on over Christmas when I've got all the feels from the season already. It's it couldn't be better. Gold.
Mm.
Well said. Something else I wanted to add, and I'm gonna piggyback off of a great episode of Thank the Maker. And if Thank the Maker is not in your Star Wars podcast playlist, you need to get that bad boy in there. But I didn't realize that I think a recent panel that Ewan McGregor was in kind of was sort of, the man's still excited about the possibility of an Obi-Wan season 2, and whether or not they're just talking about it or that they're trying to come up with something like that. That's something else. Like, the cynic in me says, obviously, the same thing with the Mando movie. Disney and Lucasfilm and Star Wars needs a win. Just like what potentially, like the goodwill that something like Skeleton Crew can really bring in to go, look, it's pirates and kids, man, just let it go. I will sit there and defend, let it be what it is. But it's like, on the one hand, I could go, how much more? But on the other hand, like, if Ewan McGregor wants to make some more Star Wars, somebody somewhere find this man a Star Wars to play in. What do you guys think of that?
Daz, you want to go first?
Yeah, well, when I saw the news that he'd been talking about this, I was thinking, Ewan, be careful, be gentle with me. Don't give me these hopes. I'll be honest. After season 1, I sort of resigned myself to the fact that that's what we were going to get with Kenobi now, and I was happy with that. I really enjoyed the show. I thought it was really, really, really good. A well-rounded story by the end. It left us some loose ends that it could definitely be picked up in a second season, but also I felt like that they got to a point where, well, it doesn't really matter too much if we don't see this anymore. So hearing the news that they're looking into it, or whatever his wording was, I'd be so happy with some more of that. I think that there's so much that they can do. It's just you don't come across a connection like Ewan McGregor has with Kenobi very often, where an actor just it becomes the role and the role becomes the actor. So I'm like, let's more. I'll take everything I can get. It's so early to sort of wonder what possibilities they could be looking at for the story. The one thing I'd say is that I hope that we can stay clear of Luke if they go any further. I just don't feel like we need to have or see too much more of the connection between Luke and Kenobi for A New Hope to feel right when it's clear that they're not complete strangers to each other. Luke knows who he is, but it's obvious that they've not had that sort of massive amount of time together where they've built all these bonds, and certainly Luke seems completely unaware of what the Force can do. So I hope that we stay clear of that. But beyond that, I mean, I think a lot of people worried, well, can Obi-Wan really leave Tatooine? Is that okay? And it was absolutely fine in the first season. I didn't have any problem with that at all. So there's a whole galaxy of adventures out there that you could go on, and I'd be first in the queue to watch them.
Mm-hmm. I would just piggyback off Daz. I completely agree with what you're saying, Daz, about not getting any closer to Luke and all that. I absolutely, and in fact, to support what you're saying, I heard clips of that interview that McGregor did, and he hinted at to the interviewer, and the crowd sitting there roared as he says, "I'd really like to wear the Clone Wars armor." Whoa! We see in the Clone Wars, and James Arnold Taylor doing the voice, and so when he said that, I was like, I think he's definitely wanting to do that. And then you could, we saw Hayden Christensen, in those clips with Ahsoka during the Clone Wars. They kind of, I guess, did they de-age him, or I guess maybe just did his hair a little bit different and stuff like that. But when, like Daz said, when you this is not a B or C level actor. This is A-list.
Mm-hmm.
He just got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And when Daz said more, and you said, Greg, Star Wars needs a win. You have an A-list actor, and you got another. Well, you've got Anakin himself, two actors who love these characters and love Star Wars. you better make more of that and to get some wins.
Agreed. And even if like it's interesting, like the first season of Obi-Wan kind of threw us because everybody thought, oh, it's going to be about Luke, then it became about Leia. And I'm like, okay, I could see you doing a little bit with Luke, because even as the like I said, the piggybacking off Thank the Maker was like, okay, yeah, there is some still room, because he isn't just he didn't meet him just once when he was 10, and I don't think I remember that too many people I met when I was just 10 just once. But yeah, does it have to be super involved? No. Does Uncle Owen need another reason to get grumpy with him? Sure, because that breaks in. But yeah, there's tons of these characters from the Clone Wars. I mean, who wouldn't want to see some more live action? Tamora Morrison as some of the clones, or Rex, or if you throw in Ahsoka. I'm like, you've got now a big stable you can go to, and with Ewan being the draw, and you go, that's enough right there. We just think that I would probably just think that, and I think even maybe a little bit of the knock against Kenobi was like some of the stuff you could tell was in the volume. And I'm like, sure enough, there's going to be a lot of stuff done in the volume now, because I'm like, all right, we know what happens, when you make it too extravagant. But still, it's like the volume's only getting more and more, technically savvy. And yeah, it just seems like, even if it somehow sounds like they're playing to the hits, I'm like, play some hits. I mean, if you've got people who are, it's one thing, right? For example, if I'll bring in Doctor Who, right? So they bring in Christopher Eccleston as the Ninth Doctor, and he goes at one season, and he's like, and that going into David Tennant, but he never wants to do it again. Doesn't want to come back for any of the specials and things like that. And part of me goes, one, he killed it that season. If you had one season, I mean, he just absolutely went to town. But in some cases, I go, all right, maybe it's playing on my heartstrings, but I would love to see him reprise back, because I know when they've done those things before where they've had doctors come back and some of this stuff, I'm just in near tears, because I'm like, this is part of my childhood coming back and going, oh my God, there's so-and-so and all this. And, because those episodes, those specials are they're special. And it would, just some of these characters. And like I said, I give them, like, as Aaron always says, and Dave Filoni, for whatever galactic position he's lofting for him, I'm like, as long as these people really care about Star Wars, and Headland and all these folks who care about Star Wars, that's no one's phoning this stuff in. It may be a different take, it may be something that doesn't quite jive with you, but I have yet to go back to The Last Jedi. Rian Johnson, he cared about it. Watch the documentary. It goes like, they all care about it. It's just like I said, it's everybody's interpretation. And even us three who, like, knowing each other for a while, it's like, I bet you if they put a blank slate in front of us and we all wrote our stories, I don't think they'd be too much in lockstep. I think there'd be differences. I think I would go down because of my influences and what I've read, or characters I love, and it would be all these different Star Wars. But at the end of the day, it's like, we wouldn't be doing it because it's like, whatever. No, they're doing it because they love it. Yes, they need to make money. That's a part of it now. But if it was just Lucasfilm, when it was just George and company, George would have ceded that company to someone else. But it's like, Disney, at least now, still has the resources enough to keep this franchise moving forward. And and if we're constructive about it, and we kind of come about it and we talk about it, I think they'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And sorry, David.
You go, Des.
I was just going to say, we've got some of these stories which are returning, for extra seasons things. But something that I think is really important is that we have a lot of returning directors coming back. They're obviously having a good experience the first time, and Lucasfilm is obviously happy with the work they've done. Just thinking of people like Bryce Dallas Howard, has I think worked on perhaps all of the Mandalorian seasons for an episode and the Book of Boba Fett. And it's good that we've got these, and that's just one example of these people behind the scenes pulling the strings, because we're so used to. There was a time where Dave Filoni was carrying it all on his shoulders, whereas I feel like he's just quietly building, sort of this little task force of different directors who possibly suit different tasks. So I think let's keep harnessing these people's abilities, they can improve with it, and we can enjoy seeing them develop and the fruits of their labor.
Something else, what are some of the other things that coming into next year that you are excited to kind of see or hear or read?
Go for it, David.
Well, hey, yeah, no, I love your takes on things, Daz. There's a few things. One, is Andor, season 2. That's a biggie. I do want to go back, and I don't know if you're going to do this, Daz and Greg. I'm going to go back and watch all the episodes. I'm going to just get them back fresh in my head. And kind of like what Greg was just mentioning, you've got someone like Tony Gilroy and Diego Luna who love this. There's a director, just like Daz was saying, a director who cares about this, a writer who cares about Star Wars. Diego Luna obviously cares about it, so I'm really looking forward to seeing that. And then I was mentioning this a little bit, Daz, before you got on, is I'm looking forward to finishing up the High Republic with the comics and the books, and I'm almost done with Tears of the Nameless, which is the young adult novel. That's the most recent book that just came out by George Mann. And then this upcoming spring will be the last 3 High Republic novels. The adult novel by Charles Soule, a young adult novel by Claudia Gray, and then I'm trying to remember who's going to do the middle grade novel, but I've done the whole thing. I've read all the comics, read all the books, all the stories in Star Wars Insider. So I'm looking forward to that. As that'll go through summer, I think it'll wrap up next summer. So I'm looking forward to that. And I don't know. Are we getting any other series besides? Well, are we getting Ahsoka season 2? I think we are.
Yeah. I think I've heard something about that.
Yeah, I think it has been confirmed, but it's been fairly quiet since then.
Yeah,
it's been with I do feel like we're going through a bit of a quiet period with anything coming through about series or the movies. I mean, the Mandalorian and Grogu's coming. It's getting closer, but yeah, we've not really seen anything. So there's plenty on that front that we could be seeing. For me, something that would be nice, and there's little whispers that suggest it could be on the way, but there's nothing concrete at all. Is that it'd be nice to have a new animated series to look forward to, whether we go to a completely different period perhaps than we have before. I mean, we jumped from the Clone Wars into the sort of Rebels era. Perhaps we go for something post sequel trilogy, maybe. I mean, there's so many options. It would be lovely. It would be nice if we could somehow get some of our favorite voice actors back in, and I sort of get pulled somewhere between wanting more of what we've got, and then been interested to see what else we could explore. Perhaps there's a little hint that we could see something with Ventress in it. It was an unusual introduction to her, or reintroduction to her in the Bad Batch, and it felt like, well, this feels like it's done on purpose. It was important for the story, but the timing towards the end of the series seemed too much of a coincidence to me. That I think perhaps we're going to see something a little bit more there, and perhaps next year is the time we're going to find out about it.
I also think, I was kind of surprised, as we will be, getting to when we do our breakfast pack on Rebuilding the Galaxy 3 and 4, and kind of watching 4 again, not to kind of put any spoilers. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing another season of this. I do think that there was a lot of meat on the bone for that, and I kind of like where they went. I'm like, you know what? I would like to see these characters, and I think just seeing all the voice actors that were in it, from Mark Hamill to Ahmed Best to Kelly Marie Tran, and all the ones we would normally expect. D. Bradley Baker is Nubs, for heaven's sake. But I was like, yeah, let's, and it was also something that was fairly shared. I wish they had kind of maybe spread them out a little bit. That would have been fun, because like I said, why are you bunching all this stuff together when, if we're in a quiet period? I'm like, I'm fine. I could take these one a week. It was like a Bad Batch. I mean, 16 episodes for a Bad Batch season was long for everybody. It was like, wow, this really goes on a long time, as Greg and I will attest to when you're doing a show like on it. But I would say, these little ones, it's fun to binge them, but it is funner when you can have that community experience where you can kind of go and it's fun to kind of dissect them. They do a little differently when you just have them up, thinking of the Stranger Things model, which is funny because as Sig is the voice from the character from Stranger Things, which I haven't watched. But yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to another crack on that. And then I'd be curious, another Tales of series would be fun. Also, they're not sometimes earth-shattering ones, but they do a nice job of filling in the blanks. And yeah, I got a feeling that with Celebration, maybe we will be getting some announcements of some upcoming animated and maybe live-action stuff. And yeah, I would like to, before Andor Season 2 starts, I would like to finish up those Han Solo trilogy books and the Lando ones, which I got over. I know that I think I sent you one of the copies. I actually ordered 2 copies of one of the Lando books by accident, but it was a UK version, so since we have Taz in, just slightly different cover. But those would be fun, and those are something that I'm like, I bought them because they were small, and I'm like, okay, time is tight for everybody, but maybe I can sneak these in. I just have to do a better job of getting them ingested, as it were.
I think those are all good things. What Daz was saying, and I'd mentioned Andor and hoping for Ahsoka season 2. And then when you mentioned another season of Rebuilding the Galaxy, definitely they left it there to start off. I bet you they'll do another 4, just like they did 4 here. But Tales of, I enjoyed Tales of the Jedi, Tales of the Empire, and Tales of the Bounty Hunters. Let's throw one of those out there. So, but I think Daz is right, and Greg, you've been alluding to this. You've actually been predicting this for a while, as you said, hey, are we kind of coming to the end of streaming? And because of the costs, and we've seen Iger cut a lot of this stuff. I get it. It's a lot of money, and I don't know what the return is on this stuff. That I think we're going to be in a relatively quiet period, because I don't think Mando and Grogu, that I thought the initial discussion was 2026, and we're in 2024. So I guess that would play out for an Ahsoka season 2, and then coming into a Mando and Grogu to maybe pull a lot of stuff together.
Yeah, I do think we've seen the end of a golden age of streaming, where I think you have to pull that throttle back. You have to find out what you can cost effectively produce, and then support your we've seen what Deadpool 3 and Barbie and some of these films have the potential to bring in. And, I think if you take it, they pulled back on Marvel some, but I do think that this next phase is going to make them a lot of money. And I think if you can do that and support your film, so you give us an experience we can watch on the big screen, but then enjoy some stories on the small screen, and maybe not have to worry about them supporting the entire structure, right? I think if you did a balance where you got movies, you've got TV shows, plus you've got this other ancillary material, books, comic books, audio dramas, what have you. I think if you level them out, then I think the whole house stays uptight. Thinking of more house damage and all that kind of stuff when it was post Milton. See, I came that all by myself. So I'm so proud of myself.
I'm very excited by the prospect of getting back to the movie theater to see some Star Wars. At the moment over here, we've got it seems to be across all the cinema chains where every week they're releasing one of the Star Wars movies in the cinema. So unfortunately, I missed all of the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy whilst we were moving. But now that we've settled in a bit, I've got all my tickets booked for the sequel trilogy. So I'm right in the middle of that. Last week I went to see The Force Awakens, and tomorrow I'm going to see The Last Jedi. And it was just wonderful to be back in the cinema. I was looking around, and there were families coming in, parents with their kids, some older couples. And I was thinking, I've missed this. This is nice. This is what Star Wars was originally. And don't get me wrong, I love everything that's coming out and with the TV series and the and all the books and everything else. But it was nice to be sat in the cinema and for that hush, just as the film's about to begin. We get hit by the crawl, and I thought, yeah, okay, this is the good stuff. I missed this, so I will be glad for us to get that. And I think that Star Wars as a whole just could do with a little shot in the arm of perhaps a good theatre movie experience to just remind everybody how we got here.
I love that. I love that. And just looks like I just got a text from Aaron. I think they got his internet running. How about that?
Oh, there we go. This is all coming together.
I know, I'm telling you. Well, tell you what, this seems like probably a nice point to kind of bring this a little bit to a close today. The nice thing about podcasts is you can kind of keep making them. And so the conversation doesn't end here, it just continues. And it's been fun. And wherever we pick it up from here, there's a lot of things to talk about in the Star Wars universe. Potentially sequel series. We've got Skeleton Crew coming up. We got the holidays coming. Halloween's right around the corner. If you haven't seen it, there were some great Pokemon Halloween cards. There was even some Panini NFL cards that were themed and so forth. And so, the holidays are right around the corner. It's getting cold out. But I don't think this would be a legitimate episode of reactions if I didn't pull up a couple of Star Wars dad jokes. You weren't
sorry,
just...
Greg. I think I've got to go now.
I can't be a fill-in host. I mean, it's like I can't be a fill-in host and not do this. So I was kind of looking. Thankfully, there's a little thing. Once again, Aaron's much better at this than I am. He's a professional at telling dad jokes. But this one. All right, we'll do a couple here. First one. What would you call Padme if she was a dog? The actual dog. It's a family show.
Yeah.
Put that out there. I know I'm a guest host, but I'm just saying. What would you call Padme if she was a dog? All right, shaking their heads. They're trying to get out of their seats. They're unplugging their mics. All right. According to this, pet me, I'm a doggy.
Oh,
right,
wow. Wow.
Okay. All right.
That took me a second. It's late.
Here's one that sounds more like something that Aaron would go. Once again, this is why you need Aaron back. Fellows, why was the droid angry?
No, why was the droid angry?
Top 5 answers on the board. No, that's the wrong game. Why was the droid angry? People kept pushing its buttons. It's not bad. It's not bad.
That has Aaron all over it. That one.
I thought I was going to escape these for one episode.
No. Now, what Aaron does when I package this, what he does with it, he might insert some actual ones. Is his business. It's your guys' show. Anyway, alrighty, we're going to cut it for now. But I wanted to thank Daz and David for being on, and of course, it's been fun to get Daz in on more shows, and even with the time difference, always a pleasure. I'll start with Daz. Where can people find you online if they want to continue the conversation?
If you want to find me, I'm at Daz Davies 1, so the number 1 after my name. Over mostly on Instagram, sometimes on Twitter X. Sorry, David. And over on Instagram at the moment, I'm posting like a daily picture, an image from my favorite Star Wars books. I have an unhealthy amount of Star Wars books on my shelves, and I was looking at them one day, they're gathering dust, and I thought, how can I I haven't always got time to be flicking through these, but how can I use them? And I decided, something I can spend 5 minutes on a day, just looking there for maybe a favorite picture, post that on there, what it is, where it's from, hopefully maybe pictures people haven't seen before. And maybe they might take a fancy to one of the books based on what they're seeing. So something silly I'm doing over there, but join me at Davies1 and give me a shout. I'd love to hear from you.
Excellent. David, where can people find you and Star Wars Reactions? You're going to be a little better at this than me.
Oh, well, first of all, I was going to say, I did look at Daz's post today. I believe it was Mark Hamill on the set of The Empire Strikes Back. And by the way, a lot of these pictures I haven't seen, and I have an unhealthy amount of Star Wars over here. I'm looking at them here to my left, but I'm really enjoying that, Daz, and I'm hitting heart. I'm really loving it. Yeah. So I love that you're doing that. I'm pretty simple at Twitter X. I'm at David_Modders, MODDERS. At Instagram, I haven't been posting a whole lot, but I'm checking out Daz's posts and other people's and just really enjoying them. But I'm just at David Modders. All the Star Wars Reactions ones, I'm so bad. Aaron does it all the time. If you hit any of those, you put that in your search bar, you'll find this easy. So
yeah, either at SW Reactions or SW Reactions Pod.
Yeah.
And I've seen a little more traction on Blue Sky and as well. So I'm thinking a lot more people are hitting that and adding to it, just kind of like how Threads has kind of continued to grow. So even though it's harder in the space and it kind of fractures everybody a little more, I think they filled a role a little better than Hive did, although I'm still on Hive as well. But yeah, a lot of places where reactions is, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
All right. Oops. Alrighty. And of course, you can find me over at the Rebel Base Card on many of the socials, whether it be X, whether it be Blue Sky, whether it be Hive, Instagram. I'm on Instagram a lot because I like to follow a lot of the artists who do a lot of work on the Topps cards and so forth. And of course, we have a new, looks like a new set of Galaxy an expensive set of Galaxy that'll be debuting later on. So one thing I love to see in Instagram feeds are a lot of the artists who do a lot of those sketch cards. They'll be putting up a lot of the stuff that they've been not able to do. They're under embargo until the set drops and they're able to post that stuff. But anyway, this is Reactions and not the Rebel Base Card podcast. So, alrighty, I'm going to let Daz finish this out today because I know, Daz, you must know the show tagline for Reactions, right?
Don't do this to me now.
Oh,
pressure.
Because it's going to sound more like there's our bad Ewans, and then there's someone actually on your setup on. So if you're going to do the elegant discussion for a more civilized age, I want to hear this from Daz.
All right.
So it's an elegant discussion for a more civilized age.
Fair enough. Nice. All right, gentlemen, we're going to put it back to you. Continue to do what Aaron says, be nice, be kind to somebody, whether it's on a feed, whether it's in person, whether you are helping out, volunteering, things like that. And my heart goes out, and also my thanks to a lot of those folks who helped out, whether you were in the Carolinas or whether you were in Florida. My hat's off to you and everybody else. And we'll hopefully you'll be hearing from Reactions soon. So we're going to cut it off for now. Good night.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or by Lucasfilm Limited. It's intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars. All names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and the respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Star Wars Reactions unless otherwise indicated. Star Wars Reactions. Elegant discussion for a more civilized age.